Hello world, how it's possible to hack a car's license plates, a mysterious ransomware attack, and why Russian hackers targeted New York's taxis. That's all coming up in today's roundup of cybersecurity tech news. License plates have been hacked, with potentially disastrous consequences. But how is that possible? I mean, a license plate is just a solid sheet of metal, right? Well, not this one. Reviver is the world's first e-ink digital license plate. Only legalized in America just 4 months ago, this is probably the first license plate to have an app. Not only can you customize your Reviver plate, it also makes your annual vehicle registration easy, and it has GPS, so if your car is stolen you can track it and literally mark it as stolen. Though, maybe I'm missing something, but the Reviver plate seems like one of those things that's a solution in search of a problem, and an expensive solution at that, because if you want the wide version, it'll cost you $275 per year on a 4-year plan. I mean, you could just get a cheapo GPS tracker. Sure, it doesn't have a fancy e-ink display, but something tells me having your expensive GPS tracker on show might not be the best of ideas. That being said, cheap trackers are notorious for security vulnerabilities. In a recent video, I covered how this very tracker had unpatched security vulnerabilities, enabling hackers to go so far as to cut fuel to a running car. So maybe for the added cost, you get something a little more secure. Except it's been discovered that these Reviver plates have some vulnerabilities of their own. Vulnerabilities which could give hackers full super administrative access to manage all user accounts and vehicles, allowing bad actors to not only track physical GPS locations, but also add arbitrary text to the plate, and mark any and all Reviver equipped vehicles as stolen. And to top things off, the exploits give hackers access to all user account records. A pretty dangerous array of capabilities. I mean, given there's at least 10,000 Reviver plates on the road in California alone, you can just imagine the chaos that was possible if someone with an affinity for anarchy discovered these vulnerabilities first. However, luckily for Reviver, it was a security researcher who discovered them. And in a blog post, he says that since the license plates could be used to track vehicles, we were super interested in Reviver and began auditing the mobile app. After creating an account, he proxied traffic to and from the Reviver website and app, discovering that his account was assigned a JSON object which was editable. It contained things like user ID, email, name, but also a field called type. Turns out, this field was responsible for determining a user's permissions, the default value being consumer. So he tried brute forcing this parameter using word lists, until he figured out that he could simply run through the numbers 0 to 100 and find all the roles on the website. This is when he found the 0 role, corresponding to the type Reviver, the administrator type. This gave him full remote access to all the Reviver plates, made possible due to each one having an LTE modem. But rather than raining hell, which would have been such a big story, it likely would have killed the concept of digital license plates for years, the researcher instead responsibly disclosed the vulnerabilities, with Reviver patching them in just 24 hours. Royal Mail, the UK's National Postal Service, has suffered a crippling cyber incident, causing much of their operations to grind to a halt. So what's happened? Well, cyber incident is as specific as we're being told, officially at least. Unofficially though, pictures have been leaked from a Royal Mail distribution centre showing a ransom note. Strangely, it's printed on paper. Lockbit Black Ransomware. Your data are stolen and encrypted and will be published on Tor website if you do not pay the ransom. This seems at least to be a typical ransomware attack. Well, hacking Royal Mail's printers to print out the ransom note is somewhat unconventional, but Lockbit, the group responsible here, is known for doing things differently. I mean, this was the first ransomware gang to launch a bug bounty program. These guys are currently the world's most formidable ransomware group, outperforming other notorious ransomware gangs last year by a large margin. As for this Royal Mail hack, it's being reported that they've infected machines used to print customs labels for parcels being sent overseas. Of course, if you can't print customs labels, then you can't ship parcels. However, whilst this does all seem like a generic ransomware attack, there is a problem. Bleeping Computer, a tech website I follow, reached out to Lockbit support, who said they did not attack Royal Mail, instead blaming it on other threat actors using their leaked builder. You see, a few months ago, Lockbit's servers were hacked, and their source code was leaked. Whilst it was quickly removed from GitHub, the code is still out there, so it's possible that someone has repurposed this leaked malware and used it against Royal Mail, making it look like a ransomware attack carried out by Lockbit, when in reality there's no way to recover the data, and this is in essence a destructive wiper attack. Also, Royal Mail is considered by the UK government to be critical infrastructure, a category that Lockbit pledges not to attack. However, Lockbit, it seems, doesn't agree with this classification of Royal Mail, and was so impressed with the hack that in a forum post they offered whoever was behind it a job, saying they'd waive the deposit usually required for affiliates to join their team. Also, just as a side note, I find it kind of funny that Lockbit refers to their victims as pentest clients with post-payment, but somehow I don't feel like they're joking. But in another twist, Lockbit ended up solving the mystery behind who carried out this hack. In a follow-up post, they admit that this was actually carried out by one of their affiliates, and that the Lockbit team just didn't realise, saying they have trouble keeping up with their endless stream of targets. As of making this video, it doesn't look like Royal Mail have paid the ransom of an amount currently undefined, but Lockbit also haven't leaked the data, at least not yet. It might seem like most money-making hacks we cover on this channel involve cryptocurrencies or banking trojans, but Russian hackers have proved this doesn't have to be the case. In a recently uncovered plot, Russians apparently hacked JFK Airport's taxi dispatch system for profit. You see, JFK Airport, the main airport serving New York City, is understandably pretty congested with taxis, so much so that taxi drivers wanting to service the airport are first directed to a holding lot where they have to wait before being summoned by dispatch. However, taxis can be waiting in this holding lot for hours. I checked the taxi driver information dashboard whilst typing up this video, and the current waiting times are well over 2 hours, and it's barely 6 AM in New York. But braving the queue is worth it, given the extra money that drivers can make from an airport pickup. But with waiting times often over 3 hours, this situation is a breeding ground for corruption, and in 2014, a number of dispatchers were charged with taking bribes from taxis wanting to skip the queue. This prompted the introduction of a shiny new electronic taxi dispatch system, which handles everything automatically in a bid to make things fairer. But it hasn't quite worked out. A recently unsealed indictment explains how 2 Americans allegedly worked with Russian hackers to undermine this new system. The group were seemingly brainstorming money-making ideas when one of them said, "I know the Pentagon is being hacked, so can't we hack the taxi industry?" In figuring out how to hack this new dispatching system, they considered bribing someone to insert a flash drive containing malware, hacking the dispatch system via its Wi-Fi connection, and stealing computer tablets connected to this dispatch system. Court documents don't say which method they decided on, but once they were in, they used large group chats, I imagine on Telegram, where taxi drivers would message their medallion numbers to skip to the front of the queue for a $10 fee. At its peak, the scheme was enabling 1,000 queue jumpers a day, and they managed to get away with it for 2 years until being caught. Exactly how that happened? Well, we just don't know. But we do know that these guys can't have been very smart, because they weren't accepting payments in crypto, but rather in cash. Both the Americans charged are facing up to 10 years in prison each. As for the Russians, who seem to be the brains behind all of this, they played their parts remotely from Russia, so there's zero chance of them standing trial. This video was made possible by Linode, who are giving you a $100 60-day credit just for signing up. Linode is essentially your Swiss Army knife for cloud computing. If it runs on Linux, it'll run on Linode. One great feature of Linode is their app marketplace, which makes it super easy to spin up servers with pre-configured software. Use Linode's Kali Linux app to quickly spin up a fresh instance of Kali. The installer makes it easy to configure the basics, like VNC passwords, whether you want a desktop environment, and so on. Linode can run almost anything by providing all the tools a developer really needs at competitive prices. Use the link in the description now to claim your free $100. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.